Westbrook, but you ain't never heard me say they don't deserve their money. That's never come out of my mouth, okay? Because, and not only that, I usually don't talk about people's money until after you sign on the dot. That's on me. And so, real knows real. And when you a man, you own up and you fess up to the things that you did wrong. Right. And I'm going to always be that.
For decades, the name Floyd Mayweather has been synonymous with flawless execution, both inside the squared circle and at the bank. Securing a perfect 50-win record and branding himself as the ultimate prize fighter, he built an empire on the premise of invincibility. However, a stark contrast has begun to emerge between the polished, money-throwing persona presented on social media and the harsh realities documented in legal filings. Recent reports circulating through major news networks have painted a wildly different picture of the boxing icon. Rather than resting on a mountain of generational wealth, widespread media coverage suggests a man frantically attempting to outrun an avalanche of debt. High-profile sports analysts have publicly scrutinized these financial vulnerabilities, suggesting that the fighter may have even left the country to dodge mounting pressure from creditors. On one side, the public sees a man endlessly flaunting luxury, but on the other side, a growing chorus of critics and financial observers are pointing toward impending bankruptcy. The narrative surrounding the greatest defensive boxer of a generation has shifted from his ability to slip punches to his alleged attempts to slip debt collectors.
So my mentality is I walk into work every day. Number one responsibility, how do I make us more money? Number two, how do I get some? That's my approach to business. The minute I walk in every single day, I'm unapologetic about it. It's not personal or anything like that. I am constantly trying to win because winning is what's going to create other opportunities.
The core of this financial controversy centers around the very foundation of Mayweather's post-boxing identity, his real estate empire. Prominent voices in sports media, most notably veteran commentator Stephen A. Smith, have systematically dismantled the illusion of this massive property portfolio. Analytical breakdowns of Mayweather's holdings suggest that many of the real estate investments he frequently boasts about may not actually exist in the way he claims. Instead of generating passive income, analysts argue these properties serve as a smokescreen, utilizing inflated valuations or entirely fabricated assets as collateral to pacify nervous creditors. According to these assessments, the fighter is relying heavily on highly depreciating assets like luxury vehicles, diamond-encrusted jewelry, and the unpredictable revenue of modern exhibition bouts to keep his financial ship afloat. This severe mismanagement of astronomical wealth has triggered a wave of backlash from the combat sports community. Longtime observers and fans have expressed deep frustration, noting that an obsession with maintaining a flashy, materialistic lifestyle has slowly eroded the legacy of a once respected tactician, replacing the aura of a champion with the desperation of an aging star trying to keep the lights on.
His act together, and he didn't appreciate that. And he was so pissed off we went without talking, and it got to a point where a couple of my colleagues pulled me to the side and said, "Yo, man, you the beat writer for this." He didn't care about that. Believe it or not, he didn't care about that. It was like he got mad. He got mad because I said that, he taking liberties, he's...
The cracks in the financial foundation are not just rooted in media speculation. They are fully documented in federal court rulings. The most damning evidence of this looming crisis stems from a protracted legal battle with Zinni Media Concept Limited, a prominent Nigerian firm. In the summer of 2017, an agreement was struck for Mayweather to make several highly publicized appearances across Africa. When the fighter unilaterally terminated the agreement and completely refused to refund the massive advance payments, the situation spiraled into a bitter legal feud. Mayweather's legal team allegedly attempted to exploit international borders, arguing that a refund was unnecessary due to the company operating outside of the United States. This tactic failed entirely. By late 2023, a California court completely rejected the defense, ruling in favor of the media company and citing breach of contract, fraud, and unjust enrichment. The gavel came down with a devastating financial penalty, ordering the boxer boxer to surrender over $2 million in damages, compounded by hundreds of thousands in prejudgment interest and legal fees. When the appellate court upheld this decision the following year, the stakes reached critical mass. With the debt compounding at a 10% annual interest rate, the court authorized a humiliating enforcement measure, granting U.S. attorneys the right to forcefully seize his prized 2015 Bugatti Veyron and a hyper-rare Ferrari LaFerrari to settle the ledger.
We're here with Lionel Corey of Clocked and Loaded, Floyd Mayweather, greatest of all time. What's going on here? You source all Floyd's watches or what? Explain to me.
A lot of them.
All right.
He's a watch connoisseur. A lot of my watches, because of my background, has to have diamonds. They're just me.
Right.
Because, Africa, we come from gold and diamonds and precious stones and precious metals. And most of the watches sticking more together, pushing each other to be great instead of arguing on social media. That's just my opinion. And push each other in a positive way. And, I found myself in the past, the younger Floyd Mayweather, going back and forth on the internet with different people. But I'm in a better place in my life right now. I couldn't ask to be in a better place.
Faced with mounting judgments and a highly publicized cash flow crisis, a sudden and massive liquidation of assets began. Luxury mansions and high-end properties were abruptly listed on the open market, sending shockwaves through the real estate sector. The official public relations spin framed this massive sell-off as a strategic evolution. The fighter claimed he was simply securing generational wealth, shifting away from residential properties to completely dominate the commercial sector. Statements released to the public detailed a grandiose vision of owning 9 towering skyscrapers in New York City, highlighted by claims of significant equity in the massive One Vanderbilt Tower, alongside plans to develop a premier casino in Times Square. However, financial analysts and media pundits immediately countered this narrative. The contrasting viewpoint suggests this was not the calculated move of a real estate mogul, but rather the desperate fire sale of a man buried under the weight of his own extravagance. The timing of the sales, aligning perfectly with the aggressive court orders and skyrocketing debt interest, painted a picture of forced liquidation rather than voluntary diversification.
I wear is diamonds. Today, no diamonds today.
That's the Richard Mille.
This is very humble. No, I like to call this, people pronounce them different ways. Richard Mille is what my jeweler told me, so it's exactly how you say it, Sean.
Richard Mille.
So, and of course, this is a watch connoisseur, so he would know.
I'm wearing a black sub, and we've got one right here.
You know what, today, I'm gonna go black sub.
Is that which one do you prefer? Is that the one you prefer?
Today, I'm gonna go black sub.
Black sub. You guys gonna have matching watches?
Sticking more together, pushing each other to be great instead of arguing on social media. That's just my opinion. And push each other in a positive way. And, I found myself in the past, the younger Floyd Mayweather, going back and forth on the internet with different people. But I'm in a better place in my life right now. I couldn't ask to be in a better place.
To truly comprehend the scale of this potential collapse, one must examine the sheer volume of wealth that was originally amassed. This is an athlete who reportedly generated over $1 billion in career earnings, commanding astronomical 9-figure payouts from historic clashes against rivals like Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, and Conor McGregor. Even in retirement, the revenue stream remained potent, with exhibition spectacles bringing in tens of millions of dollars per appearance. The physical manifestations of this wealth are staggering. The portfolio includes a $50 million customized Gulfstream G650 jet, a secondary multi-million dollar aircraft dedicated solely to his entourage, and sprawling estates in Los Angeles and Las Vegas worth tens of millions. The mechanical fleet alone features over 100 luxury vehicles, including multiple Rolls-Royces, hypercars, and custom Maybachs. Yet, the maintenance, taxes, and operational costs of this sprawling empire empire require a continuous, massive influx of liquid cash. The transition from active competition to retirement fundamentally alters cash flow, and the struggle to sustain a billion-dollar lifestyle without billion-dollar activity levels serves as the ultimate catalyst for financial decay.
So the old Floyd Mayweather, when I used to go back and forth with people on social media, I don't do that anymore because I'm truly, truly blessed, way beyond belief. You know, what's important to me right now is my real estate, my family, different things I'm involved with. Everybody keep asking me, why you not coming back to fight? Why you not coming back to fight? So I look at the fight game. I said, okay. I said, you know, fighters fight, they make 3 million, 4 million, 6 million, 7 million. Some may make 10 or 20 million, but I'm doing exhibitions and I'm making 20, 25 million, 100 million for exhibitions. So why would I come back and fight?
The irony of this current financial crisis lies in the fighter's historical brilliance as a businessman. 2 decades prior, he executed what is widely considered the greatest financial maneuver in the history of combat sports. Recognizing his true market value, he enacted a specific contract clause to buy his absolute freedom from legendary promoter Bob Arum for less than $1 million. Teaming with highly influential advisor Al Heyman to form his own promotional banner, he eliminated the middleman and took complete ownership of his box office revenue. That single calculated risk transformed him from a highly paid athlete into an independent financial juggernaut. He mastered the underlying mechanics of the sports business, leveraging his polarizing persona to maximize pay-per-view returns. Yet, the same unshakable self-belief that allowed him to conquer the boxing industry now appears to be his greatest liability. The tactical genius who always stayed 3 steps ahead of his opponents in the ring is now engaged in a brutal war of attrition with his own balance sheet, proving that even the most impenetrable defense can ultimately be broken by the relentless pressure of poor financial execution.
All about helping kids, the new generation, surpass Floyd Mayweather and be a better Floyd Mayweather. So, you know, everything that I did, you know, in a past if it was something negative, I apologize.
On camera, the narrative is completely flawless. The fighter frequently positions himself alongside high-end horologists, casually analyzing the diamond settings of rare timepieces and declaring himself the ultimate watch connoisseur. He projects the image of a man whose wrists carry the GDP of a small nation. Yet behind the scenes, federal dockets tell a grim story of borrowed luxury. Legal analysts and industry insiders have poured over a string of recent lawsuits originating from prominent Miami and New York jewelers, revealing a staggering pattern of behavior that directly contradicts his billionaire persona. Instead of upfront cash transactions, these filings allege the fighter took possession of millions of dollars in iced-out chains and exclusive watches, only to leave behind a trail of bounced checks and broken settlement agreements. The contrast is entirely jarring. On one side, social media algorithms push a lifestyle of limitless spending and untouchable wealth. But on the other side, financial observers see a man being dragged into federal court by the very merchants who supplied his armor. To the untrained eye, it is the lifestyle of a king. But to those analyzing the balance sheets, it is a masterclass in living on borrowed time.
So, y'all gotta know the difference between a hack bag and a Birkin bag. I just want to show the people how I live on a daily basis. I just showed the 2 Rolls Royces, well, actually 3 cars that I bought. So I brought them out front, one of my houses. We like to call this house right here the Palace. As you can see, this right here is red.
The illusion of the untouchable real estate mogul completely shatters when placed under the microscope of recent civil litigation. For years, the boxer has publicly lectured audiences on the mechanics of passive income, gesturing toward the Manhattan skyline and claiming ownership of massive commercial towers and future casinos. But real estate observers and property agents paint a drastically different picture of his day-to-day reality. Recently, the curtain was violently pulled back on a luxury duplex inside a premier Midtown Manhattan hotel. Court filings revealed that the supposed billionaire had fallen hundreds of thousands of dollars behind on rent. When confronted by property owners regarding the massive deficit, the fighter allegedly feigned total ignorance, claiming he had no idea the ledger was so deep in the red. The cognitive dissonance here is staggering. On the microphone, he promises the construction of Times Square monopolies and billions in commercial development. But in the courtroom, he has faced formal eviction proceedings for failing to cover a basic monthly lease. This glaring paradox exposes a profound disconnect between the generational empire he sells to the public and the financial reality he actually inhabits.
So we got this. This is the EWB, extended wheelbase. Gucci pillows.
Potential.
All depends on how you want to close the door. Stop talking, I'm filming. Come on. Showed you guys this yesterday. But I didn't show you guys this. I want to always talk about different things that I'm doing. You know, what I'm working on right now in New York City. I know you guys, if you guys haven't seen one of my buildings, is One Summit,
Yes.
You know, it's actually it's one of the tallest commercial buildings in the world. So just in New York alone, I got 9 skyscrapers.
As traditional cash reserves seemingly began to dry up, a sudden and highly unusual pivot occurred in the fighter's business playbook. The launch of his branded fitness franchise was initially heralded as the natural expansion of his corporate footprint, a dominant move in a brick and mortar health clubs. However, business commentators were quick to raise red flags when the operation resorted to a retail crowdfunding model. The pitch was heavily draped in the language of community empowerment, asking everyday fans for micro investments of just a few $100s to own a piece of his supposedly booming empire. Financial analysts viewed this not as the calculated move of an independent tycoon, but as a desperate bid for liquid capital from his fan base. The facade ultimately crumbled when the entire public campaign was abruptly terminated and refunded, with executives vaguely citing the sudden injection of private funding. This sequence fundamentally transformed the image of an untouchable financial genius. Instead of a boardroom predator securing massive institutional backing, the optics shifted to a scrambling promoter, desperately trying to leverage his remaining brand equity to keep his corporate doors from closing.
Like 4 or 5 days ago. I got all type of toys, Apple TV, Express.
Yeah. What's the address of that building?
I don't know that one about. So what I'm working on, I want you guys to know this. I got a casino coming to New York City in Times Square.
Wow.
You're part of that, yeah.
Clap it up for that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Big. That's big.
That's huge.
I just saw that.
I got all type of toys, Apple TV.
Perhaps the most telling indicator of a total financial freefall is the fighter's desperate decision to turn his legal crosshairs on the very institution that built his empire. For years, his absolute leverage over pay-per-view networks was the absolute cornerstone of his money persona. He famously boasted about his supreme business literacy, ensuring he never left a single dollar on the table while dictating terms to executives. Yet, facing a barrage of lawsuits from jewelers, international media companies, and landlords, he has launched a staggering multi-hundred-million-dollar lawsuit against his former broadcast partners. He now alleges a massive, long-running scheme of corporate fraud, claiming the network systematically hid revenues and misappropriated his funds. Combat sports historians and legal experts view this as a dramatic, almost tragic reversal of his core identity. The defensive savant who claimed no one could ever outsmart him in the business world is now arguing that he was the victim of an elaborate, decade-long corporate hustle. It is the ultimate irony. Backed against the ropes by an army of creditors, the untouchable businessman is throwing wild legal haymakers at his former allies, hoping to land one final desperate payday to save a crumbling kingdom.